Yeah, so UG Krishnamurti, well, I've been seeing videos or listening to talks of his off and on for about 10 years. Not in an effort to learn anything, but in the hopes that he might say something similar to my conclusions. But he doesn't really. I mean, what can you say about UG Krishnamurti? He's the great denier, isn't he? He just there's moments when he's babbling and he's just basically denying everything. He's denying thoughts. He's denying that there's anything that's aware of the thoughts. You know, and I understand by his own words that he was born into a wealthy family, and that certainly helped fund his adventures on his path of enlightenment, realizing that there really is no enlightenment and so on and so forth. But I don't know how long that money lasted. I don't know if it lasted his entire life, because he claimed in many interviews for many decades that he never lived anywhere more than like 6 months at a time. So I'm just wondering what funded all these moves. Was it the money that he was born with, or were there patrons, were there fans that funded his lifestyle, so to speak, his traveling and his living expenses? I don't know. But nonetheless, I mean, that's really, you listen to him and it almost sounds like he's realized this is a dream. He realizes that everything here is temporary, and he realizes nothing here is real, but he never really offers a definition of what is real. And most don't. Most don't. But they'll bang on, about what is fake and illusory, and they'll act like it's a mistake. And UG basically acts like it's a mistake to be here. Like this existence is some kind of mistake or the result of a mistake. He certainly acts like everyone's completely batshit crazy and doesn't realize it. That's the kind of vibe that's in his voice, in his demeanor, And as I was about to say, as far as the how did he make a fucking living? How did he fund his lifestyle of only living in a place for 6 months? And one wonders if he indeed, made his living by giving all those lectures in front of a camera, in front of a microphone. But whether he did it to make a living, or whether he did it because it was just simply a calling, it was simply the path of least resistance, the fact of the matter is he's one of the anti-gurus, isn't he, who still dresses and speaks like a fucking guru. And still has a room full of fucking disciples. You see the same fucking faces in all the fucking talks that he gave in front of a video camera. They're all sure they're gonna get it. It's like he takes you to the threshold and then abandons you. And that's because that's probably what UG did. UG marked himself off as enlightened, but he didn't go far enough. If he had, he would have realized this is a dream, a predestined dream, that there is only perfect eternal conscious energy, and it has nothing better to do with its eternal consciousness than to imagine dream lives and dream stories and dream worlds, and then it imagines that it forgets itself in order to experience those dream lives and those dream worlds as if they're the only existence ever known. That's what UG would have gotten if he had gone further, but he didn't. So that's why you always get that sense that when you're listening to him talk, that he's taking you to a threshold. He's getting ready to reveal the secret. It's coming. It's coming. It's like a fucking cum shot, isn't it? Here it comes. Oh! Oh! And then nothing happens. And his defenders would, rush to say, well, that was his method. That you're meant to make the last step. That you're the one to make the conclusion. But the fact of the matter is, motherfucker is just simply being dead honest with you. What he is talking about and what he is revealing is an example of the limitations of his search. That he didn't go far enough. He apparently didn't fuck with LSD or mushrooms or DMT. And like most, was too frightened to do something like that. So in a way, UG Krishnamurti, as far as the spiritual community is concerned, if you want to call it that, excuse me, he's sort of like the William S. Burroughs of the spiritual community. And as much as if you've ever tried to read any of William S. Burroughs' books, the ones that he's most famous for, other than the book Queer, he employed a cut-up method and so forth, and really, the books are just a fucking hoax, man. What a fucking joke. The dude made ends meet until he made it to his early 80s, I think. Early to mid-80s, William S. Burroughs did. Just on this fucking hoax of writing. It's not very good at all. It's just a gimmick. Well, anyway, so Eugene, whether he made a living or not, he certainly made a career out of being an anti-guru. And the poor sad thing about UG Krishnamurti is that he's basically a fucking pessimist. The whole vibe of his voice and the words he puts forth, it's all rather pessimistic and negative. He definitely doesn't believe that there's any life after death or what have you. I don't know how he explains this existence, how this existence came to be, but he in fact, denies that it does exist, doesn't he? At least in some moments of his talks, that's he denies that any of this is even going on. So the thing is if he had truly, been enlightened, he would have realized that this was a dream, and that it's an intentional dream, and that each living being that is experiencing the dream is the author of its dream. But he didn't. But he did have this sense that this is all bullshit, which of course he's correct. It is. It's all illusory. It's all fake. It's not real. But you, in order to really grasp that, have to define what is real. I ended up defining what is real as perfect eternal conscious energy. It's what we are as perfect spirits. And he didn't seem to define what is real. So, he definitely had a sense that, this is an illusory world, this is a crazy world. But he didn't seem to realize that each of us is the author of it. He didn't want to talk about spirits or spirituality or life after death or eternity or anything like that. In a way, he just sort of wanted to be like a strict materialist or realist, and I don't know. But he's even though his overall message is gibberish, he's still sort of a bit of fresh air, because there are some things that he's hitting the nail on the head about. One is, of course, being an illusion, and also hitting probably the thing that makes him the most appealing, or is his only appeal really, which is the only thing anybody can hang their hat on, other than he's the great denier of everything, is his assertion, which is correct as far as I'm concerned, that, you know, there's no kind of enlightenment here that's going to prevent your suffering till the day you die. You know, but he doesn't explain why, because he didn't go far enough. I'm saying that there's no kind of enlightenment here that's going to prevent the suffering, the pain that you have destined for yourself. All living creatures have destined fortune and misfortune, pain and no pain, from the beginning of their mortal life until its end. There is no special secret, special information, secret cheat codes or whatever to help you escape the pain and misfortune that you predestined for yourself, because you are living out a story that you wrote for yourself. You are here for the story more than for anything that you think you are as a human. In other words, if you think you're a guitarist and you're here to make music, well, you know, that's an important part of your life, but you're primarily here to live out a story. And being a guitarist is only one part of that story. You know, you might think you're here to be a philosopher and sit in front of the camera and talk to 2 or 3 people about philosophy, but that's just part of your story. You're here to live out a story and all the details that involves. So UG, he's good for a laugh, but the sense of futility that exudes from him, telling these people in the room, you know, these conclusions that he's reached that they are not able to grasp, and he knows they will not be able to grasp. And he sees the same fucking faces at every fucking lecture that he gives, asking pretty much the same fucking questions over and over and over. And rightly so. Most of the time the questions they're asking are just absolutely fucking ridiculous. And he bless his heart, he snaps at them and tries to point that out, but that just makes them more defensive, you know. So all these people that show up to these UG lectures, it's never many. It's always like a little small room. It's a small room and it's all very cramped. So there never seems to be more than like 15 or 20 people. But nonetheless, you look at them and you just you're there to listen to a dude that's going to tell you don't need to be there, that there's nothing he's going to tell you that's going to fucking change your life. And they're all there, sure that there's a secret, that, you know, he's going to go beyond the threshold, that he's going to actually reveal the secret. And he can't, because he didn't find any. You know, he took his search only as far as what you hear him talk about, which is, unfortunately, a lot of it is gobbledygook, but the most important part, and the only meaningful part, really, I see, is his pointing out how, you know, enlightenment is not going to save you from suffering. And that's the whole fucking reason why you pursued enlightenment in the first place, was you thought you were going to be able to attain some sort of permanent peace of mind, or permanent bliss, or permanent balance. And bless your heart, there's a lot of motherfuckers who tell you can. And there's a lot of fucking motherfuckers who put on the charade for their entire lives, you know, just trying to sell you that idea. And then when they fucking die, you read their biographies. You read biographies written about them. Some biographies are written by devotees and disciples and so forth. But there's also, you know, biographies that are written by people that have a more balanced or neutral point of view. And then you find out that these people who were very good at appearing in front of the camera, anytime they appeared in front of the camera or the microphone, they always seem enlightened, they seem bliss, they seem to be exuding compassion and love and balance, and then, you know, super intelligence and whatever. But, you know, these biographies will reveal that, you know, off camera, in the bedroom, in the house, you know, they can be just as big of fucking assholes as any of the rest of us. And that's what UG was saying. That's what, I mean, I don't know if he actually named any names, but, you know, that's what he got frustrated with. That's what he realized, that, you know, there's Even when you attain these mystical states, even when you experience higher states of consciousness, well, you may learn some groovy things that may very well be true within the dream, but it's still a dream. And learning those true things and touching the truth and touching the face of God or whatever the hell you want to call it, it's not going to prevent the fucking bad shit that's waiting for you in the future. Because you wrote a story for a particular dream world where every living creature has this variety and this unfolding story of contrast, of feast and famine, of ups and downs and twists and turns. Sometimes you get things you expect, and other times you expect things and they don't fucking happen. They don't come. So it's meant to be confusing. It's meant to be mysterious. That makes it adventurous because you don't know how it's going to unfold and unfurl. But you're the one that authored it, and you intentionally chose to forget that so that it would seem all fresh and new. And seem like the only existence you've ever had. So yeah, bless you, G. Krishnamurti. What a fucking rascal. Alan Watts would have got a kick out of listening to him, I'm sure of it. I mean, talk about a rascal. UG was a rascal. Although not necessarily a rascal in the same way that Alan Watts might have used the term or meant it, I don't know, but... So sometimes UG would speak in such a way, talk in such a way as if there was something that you could do or not do, think or not think, in order to avoid suffering or realize the truth or whatever the fuck. But he was a crusty little rascal, and right there at the end, if you see the videos on YouTube of him the last weeks of his life, quite ornery, just really ornery, sort of no sheen of politeness over his irritability, or his annoyance with this existence. I'm going to make a video one of these days about psychedelics and MDMA, perhaps on its own. I keep referring to MDMA as a psychedelic, and I know technically it's not. I think it's called an empathogen. But which makes me suspect that empathogens are more likely to help you experience higher states of consciousness than psychedelics. With psychedelics, you hear of a lot of trips, but very few breakthroughs to higher states of consciousness. Instead, you just hear about trips of astonishment and weirdness, which is fine. It's right on. A dream is a dream is a dream. There's no such thing as a wrong dream. Therefore, no matter what the hell anyone's doing here, no matter how horrible or stupid or unenlightened or foolish, they can't help it. It's what they destined to spirits. It beats being bored in heaven. Think of yourself as a thinker-feeler that's eternal. What the fuck are you gonna think and feel for eternity? What can you think and feel for eternity? For one thing, your home state of awareness, your state of natural sobriety and sanity as a spirit, there's not much to think or know there. The truth is very simple. The truth is the epitome of simplicity and fearlessness. There's nothing complex about it. You might think as a human that as a spirit, we knock ourselves out about wondering how is it that we as spirits have always existed. But we don't. We don't knock ourselves out about it. It seems completely fucking natural to us as perfect spirits in our home state of awareness when we're not in a dream. When we're not in a dream and we're perfectly aware of our perfect eternal conscious energy, and we're perfectly aware of our home state of awareness, perfectly aware of our sanity and sobriety, there's just not a lot to know there other than that, really. And so what else are we going to do with that ability to think and feel, and yet our natural home state of awareness is rather dull, you know? And yet it's not dull if you have a contrast to, in other words, if you wake up from a nightmare, it feels great to wake up in your home state of awareness, doesn't it? It feels great to wake up in sobriety and sanity, where you go, oh man, thank God that was just a fucking dream. Thank God it was just a nightmare. Thank God that wasn't real. I mean, then that home state of awareness feels good. It feels blissful. And I'm sure it does for a while. And then after a while, it's like, okay, well, yep. Perfect eternal conscious energy. Nothing can destroy me. Nothing wants to destroy me. It's great to be alive. But what's even greater is that I have an imagination, and that I can take a vacation from this reality. And I can experience a life where I forget this reality. And I forget that I'm eternal and unthreatenable. And I can experience a life of limitations and restrictions, and limitations where I feel like a victim, and limitations where I feel locked into a story that I can't get out of until it's time to die. What else am I to do with my eternal consciousness as a perfect spirit except dream lives, dream worlds, dream selves, dream stories? You might say, well, dude, prove it. Prove we are perfect eternal conscious energy. Prove that this is just a dream. And I would say, the very fact that you have any doubt or require any proof ought to be proof enough. Don't you think? You understand, don't you, that if you are on some kind of path of enlightenment, you're the only one at some point who's going to be able to determine whether or not you're enlightened. I mean, why would you take the word of someone else? Why would you take the word of some so-called master? Any master worth his salt wouldn't give you his word, Any master worth his salt knows that those who get the fucking message eventually do away with the fucking master. They stop showing up because they've got the message. They don't need to keep going to the fucking master for it, But there's stages to that enlightenment and to that waking up. The ultimate one is when you realize that this is a dream, that you predestined, and that everyone else, that every living creature, even the single cell creatures, every one of them are simply the product of perfect eternal conscious energy. Every one of them is but a physical vehicle for a perfect spirit who is perfectly equal and equally perfect to all of the spirits. So if you use some kind of microscope, you might be able to see these little bugs crawling on your skin. If it's a very powerful microscope. Well, what the fuck do you think is powering those little fucking bugs? What do you think is animating them? Of course they're animated by perfect eternal conscious energy. Of course they're animated by perfect spirits. They could have chosen to be kangaroos. They could have chosen to be humans. They could have chosen to be elephants or trees. So the enlightenment, yeah, the ultimate enlightenment as a dreamer is to realize it's a dream that, is predestined. And to realize that the one who has predestined that dream is perfect eternal conscious energy. And that it has nothing better to do with its consciousness than to imagine, plan out, and predestine dream lives and dream selves and dream stories and dream worlds, and then intentionally forget that they've done such a thing in order to experience such a thing as if it's new and fresh and never been known, and to experience it as if it's the only existence it's ever had. Because that's, other than that, perfect eternal conscious energy can only be aware of the fact that it is perfect eternal conscious energy. And that's not a whole lot to know, baby. You know? And I'm very foolish. I'm as foolish as UG or anyone else you want to call foolish. I'm probably more foolish, or would be considered more foolish than UG, because I'm a dreamer, banging on about how this is a dream, and how everyone else is a dreamer, and how we all predestine this dream. Well, it's the equivalent of you going to a cinema to watch a horror movie where you really do want to be creeped out. No, seriously, you want to be creeped out. Not everyone in this world enjoys the feeling of being creeped out, but some people do. And some people will go to a horror movie, a gore movie, and they really want to be disgusted. They want to really be scared and repulsed. And some even want to, be so disgusted and repulsed by the gore and the freakiness and the horrorness that they vomit. And so there you are, you're there at the horror movie, and you really like being on the edge of your seat, and you like looking away because it's too creepy, it's too horrible, and all of a sudden some asshole like me jumps up on stage and says, hey, that's not real vomit, that's not real blood, no one's head is really being chopped off, no one's actually being put through a wood chipper, don't worry. You don't want to hear that shit. Well, that's my fate as a philosopher. I wasn't able to find a publisher, so I just felt like I had to self-publish. And in self-publishing, hardly anyone knew about it. And now I make these videos. And no one knows they exist. But I just reckon someday they will. Someday you will watch this. So, even if it seems like I have poo-pooed UG Krishnamurti, I want to reiterate, which I know I did say at some time in this video, that I appreciate his existence. I'm glad he said what he said. I'm only sorry that it wasn't clearer. I'm only sorry that he didn't take his search further. He certainly realized that, this world is a load of bullshit. Just like Bukowski. Bukowski didn't spend too much time thinking about it, but he knew that there was some kind of trick going on, some kind of bullshit going on. Wondering how fucking Tolstoy's War and Peace could be heralded as such a famous, great work of art, and he found it just a total fucking bore. He said there's some kind of trick going on here. Yeah, the trick is destiny. If you're destined to be a fucking glowing, glaring success, well, nothing's gonna get in the way. Not even piss poor product. I've tried to read various famous brand name fucking novelists, and I won't rattle them off here, but you'd know them as soon as I said them. And I just, I did not find that their work merits the success that they have achieved. Not by any long stretch. No way. So, as you live your life, little pieces of proof pop up here and there, and that's one of the little pieces of proof. Seeing people who, aesthetically and qualitatively speaking, don't deserve the fucking success they have. They have it's most of the time it has more to do with what they look like, but or just the amount of money that the company behind them throws at advertising and marketing. But sometimes they don't even have good looks. It's just purely their destiny to be a great fucking big success. And yet, like I say, aesthetically and qualitatively speaking, they don't really deserve it. They're not that fucking good. They're not that great. They don't deserve to be super millionaires and so on and so forth. There's loads of other fucking actors and musicians and writers who put out far superior product and are, struggling to make ends meet. But so be it. It's a dream is a dream is a dream. Nobody's living a wrong dream. Anyone's life who looks like it's fucked, even if it's your life, it's usually just a temporary thing. It's an off and on thing, isn't it? Fortune, misfortune, pain, no pain, hassle, no hassle, worry, no worry. It's just, and that's the way it is from start to finish. So let us not get too caught up in either one. Let's not get too caught up in the good, and let's not get too caught up in the bad, and well, it doesn't matter what we think we're going to do, what we intend to do. Our life unfolds and unfurls moment to moment, moment by moment. And there's no way to get it wrong. There's no way to get it wrong when you're in a dream. A dream is a dream is a dream. Prove it. Prove it's a dream. Well, if you have to ask that or say that, then it obviously is a dream. Because if it wasn't a dream, you'd have no doubt. If this wasn't a dream, you'd have no doubt, no confusion, and you wouldn't need proof from somebody else. It clearly is a dream. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Like I say, the good news is you're perfect eternal conscious energy. You've got nothing better to do with your consciousness than to use your imagination and imagine these dream worlds like you're imagining the story, taking all the time you need, plus you're collaborating and colluding with various friends, your spirit friends, on what kind of story you're going to have, what kind of family you're going to be, what kind of friendships you're going to be, what kind of working relationships you're going to have, and so on and so on and so on. You've got eternity, which means unlimited time to think about these worlds down to the tiniest detail, down to what color is the fucking hair going to be on your chin, what color is the hair going to be on your mustache, what color is the hair going to be on your fucking sideburns. I mean, me, I'm multicolored. I've been a multicolored motherfucker all my life. My parents, they had stone cold black hair. Black hair, black eyebrows, black pubic hair, if you'll pardon me. Me, I came out with like light brown hair, which in my adolescent years went sort of orangey, and then sort of returned more to a blonde as I got older, and then sort of became brownish blonde. And all along I had like white hair, blonde white hair under my arms, ginger pubes, and white blonde hair on my balls, black hair on the tops of my toes. It's sort of a burgundy color, my sideburns. My chin, as you can see, is ginger, although there's a lot of white in it now. I look forward to being all white hair, all white mustache. I'm looking forward to that, I am. And the mustache is all ginger as well. But this part here, which you can't see very well, and I'm sorry to go on like a vain asshole, but for a long time it used to be quite white. You know, just all natural. I don't fucking bother to color or dye my hair. In the past, I fucked around with lightening my hair. You know, like in the 1980s, 1990s, I would occasionally fuck around with products that would lighten my hair, make it a little more blondie and a little less gingery. But after a while, I just fucking couldn't be bothered and just don't give a shit, you know. Like I say, I think we look better with just, you know, our natural color hair, especially as we get older. I think it's a real fucking mistake to darken your hair, whether you're darkening your eyebrows or your nose hair or your mustache or your beard or your head hair. It's clashing. It's actually making your face look fucking uglier. It's making your face look older. I'm not saying that older is necessarily uglier, but really, it's just, it clashes. Just, you know, if you let it go natural, well, you've already naturally, you know, that hair's gonna, it's gonna go to a color that matches the shade of your aging skin and your aging face, you know. But I do digress, and I do talk like a fucking know-it-all fuckhead, and I do apologize. Not profusely, just, I know it can be a bit annoying, and I know that there's various people that'll hear or watch these videos and definitely not like me at all. Definitely love to hate me, love to loathe me. Only because there must be something about me that they know is in themselves that they really feel ashamed of or embarrassed of or whatever. I don't know. But you gotta make these videos. You gotta make your own videos without giving a fuck. You're basically playing to the audience. You're preaching to the converted. You're talking to those who get what you're saying, and you know, naturally, the big net's gonna catch a bunch of little fish and creatures that you didn't intend to catch. You know, there's gonna be people that are gonna listen or watch who don't really fucking get it and who are just gonna respond and write asshole comments, you know. But that's just life, and it's okay. A dream is a dream is a dream, and thank goodness someday we get to fucking wake up from it, where we'll be glad to wake up from it, but we'll also be glad we had it. I'm sure we will, because this beats being bored throughout eternity. Try saying that the next time you're in bad pain, whether it's psychological pain or physical pain. It don't really help much. Sometimes you just gotta burn. Burn, 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 burn. But you've done it 1,000 times. You've made it through. Alright, well, I have been your host, Alexander T. Newport, your Philobabblist Extraordinaire. This has been a video file about U.G. Krishnamurti.